likely to. He repeatedly urged Jiang Yi to be cautious and prudent. Those people were no good. Jiang Yi's trip there was likely fraught with danger. Fortunately, after hearing Jiang Yi's thoughts, Su Jinghua's concerns were eased. Still, he cautioned, nuclear weapons are no ordinary arms. Remember to use them with utmost caution. Otherwise, the consequences might be beyond what either of us can bear. After all, the title Earth Restarter for nuclear weapons. That title wasn't given lightly. Chapter 146, Landing in Chengdu City. Jiang Yi had his own considerations. Rest assured, old Su. Though the Yamen has been at war, I'm not the reckless type. I know what can be touched and what cannot. And even if hostilities break out, I promise you this, I will only target the Lighthouse Nation and Yisili. Innocents will never be harmed. Hearing this, Su Jinghua felt reassured. He had feared Jiang Yi might lose control in the heat of battle, unleashing nuclear weapons, a consequence too catastrophic to bear. The entire world would be plunged into crisis. Oh, and the Dragon Nation will be attending this joint conference, right? Jiang Yi recalled something. As one of the 5 great benevolent nations, the Dragon Nation simply couldn't be absent. Yes. Su Jinghua paused briefly before continuing, rest assured, we stand firmly with you at this joint conference. But as you know, your impeachment motion likely won't pass. Lighthouse Nation holds veto power. Although Longwei is a key participant in this matter. The final decision will still be decided by a vote. And the Lighthouse Nation's veto power is utterly disgusting. It guarantees Jiang Yi's impeachment won't pass. It might annoy Yisili and keep the public pressure on, though. This point, Jiang Yi was well aware of this. But Jiang Yi's objective never hinged on the General Assembly. He merely sought to use this incident to reignite the conflict and make it even more intense. Several days passed quickly. During this period, the Yamen Kingdom launched several satellite rockets in succession, all proceeding smoothly. The Star Network was quietly taking shape. The Kingdom of Yamen was one step closer to possessing its own satellite navigation technology. Due to being too busy, Jiang Yi's plan to witness the satellite rocket launch has been temporarily shelved. But there's no rush. Over 40 satellite rockets. That would be ample time for Jiang Yi to return from the United Nations General Assembly and make up for this missed opportunity. Washington City, the capital of the Lighthouse Nation. Located in the Midwestern region of the eastern coast of the Beacon Nation. Setting aside all political correctness, it is a city of remarkable charm. It boasts a distinct 4-season climate, cool and slightly damp in winter, hot and humid in summer. For those who crave urban vibrancy and revel in modern culture and technology, this is their paradise. Today, the entire city buzzes with activity as the Global Union Assembly convenes in Washington City. Leaders from participating nations have been arriving in the city one after another. After Jiang Yi touched down, he boarded a special vehicle bound for the hotel. The hotel was located in Washington, D.C. Special District, adjacent to the Black House. Shortly thereafter, the vehicle came to a halt before a grand and imposing edifice. Outside the window, a bustling crowd filled the streets. Jiang Yi donned sunglasses and a hat to avoid being recognized. Henry opened the car door for Jiang Yi. Step out. Above the hotel entrance, a string of English letters came into view. The Hay Adams. That was the hotel's name. Translated, it was the Hay Adams Hotel. This hotel has a long history, having opened as early as 1928. For over a century, it has consistently been the preferred residence for world leaders and global elites. Its aristocratic decor rivals the opulence of palaces. It is conveniently located near the White House and many popular attractions in Washington, D.C. Henry picked up his luggage. He went upstairs. Jiang Yi's room was on the 7th floor. The hallway was carpeted with Ming-style rugs, and the walls on both sides displayed exquisite paintings. Any one of them was worth a fortune. Entering the room, a distinctive fragrance greeted them. The room was immaculately clean and tidy, fully equipped with every amenity. Jiang Yi walked to the window and reached out to open it. Outside lay the bustling street. One could imagine standing here at night, taking in the entire vibrant nightscape outside. Jiang Yi couldn't help but sigh. Money really does make a difference. Henry was conducting a thorough inspection of the entire room with various professional equipment. Cameras, listening devices. All checked. Nothing suspicious found. Henry packed up his gear and walked over from the next room. Alright, I'm going to lie down for a bit. You should head to your room and rest too. Yes, Your Majesty. Call me immediately if anything happens. To ensure Jiang Yi's safety, Henry's room was right next door. After Henry left, Jiang Yi had his character lie down, temporarily exited the game himself, and prepared to step outside for some relaxation. Staring at the screen for so long had strained his eyes. Fortunately, the gene-enhancing serum meant Jiang Yi didn't have to worry too much about damage. Thanks to his superhuman regenerative abilities, his blurred vision would quickly return to normal. Black House. President Obama, we've confirmed that the King of Yamen is staying at the Hay Adams Hotel. However, considering he'll likely inspect the room after check-in, we haven't installed any listening devices. Understood. Obama paused his work, deep in thought. Defense Secretary Mons, who had come to report, added, now might be a good opportunity. Should we hold off for now? Obama cut him off. We still don't know whether the nuclear bomb in their possession is real or fake. If something happens to him now, and the nuclear bomb turns out to be genuine, neither of us could bear the consequences. Mendez's expression darkened. Has that bastard Lons given any response yet? No, but he said he'd have definite information by this afternoon at the latest. Let's wait patiently. Right. That guy's efficiency remains as sluggish as ever. Enough of that. The king of Yemen has already arrived in Shangdan City and will stay for at least 2 to 3 days. We have ample time. That's true. Mons shifted gears. Then I'll arrange for the hitman. If the nuclear bomb info turns out to be false, we can strike immediately? Go ahead. Receiving the order, Mons flashed a sinister grin and walked straight out from Obama's office. Not long after, he appeared in a basement. This basement was vast in scale, divided into distinct zones. Administration, training, mission planning, recreation, and rest areas. But this was no ordinary underground club. It was the secret underground assassin training base of the Lighthouse Nation. Yes. Almost everything that's officially forbidden, everything explicitly banned in the Lighthouse Nation. But as long as it benefits them, the Lighthouse Nation has always been secretly cultivating them. Assassins, spies, undercover agents. For someone of Moan's stature, these are all commonplace matters. Soon, Mode selected an elite squad from the troops currently in training. These assassins were the most elite troops they had ever trained. Codename, Wild Ghost. They had carried out several covert decapitation missions in the past, all with remarkable success. For instance, the highly publicized incident 2 years ago. The assassination of a high-ranking leader from a certain country in Jundong was carried out by this very decapitation squad. Muds gazed at them with unwavering resolve. I have a mission for you. Chapter 147, Tech Tree maxed out. When Jiang Yi opened the game again, Jiang Yi checked his attributes. His character's stamina was now maxed out. Why not explore Chengdu City? Jiang Yi had a sudden thought he'd never been abroad in his entire life. He might as well go see the world as his real self. Experiencing Chengdu City through the game's perspective versus actually stepping foot there in person would undoubtedly be different. With that thought, Jiang Yi activated the descent function once more, opening his eyes once more. Before him hung a crystal chandelier of exquisite craftsmanship. He found himself lying on a plush, comfortable bed, its sheets made of luxurious silk that felt incredibly soft to the touch. The quilt, though he couldn't identify its material, felt wonderfully cozy. A faint, delicate fragrance filled the room. It was the scent of Mingguei perfume. The most incredible feature was the room's automatic temperature control system, which maintained a consistently comfortable climate. The wealthy sure know how to live. Jiang Yi sighed in admiration. He rose from the bed. Jiang Yi checked his reputation points. Suddenly, he remembered something. He then opened the tech tree. Within the tech tree section, Jiang Yi located the upgrade option for the descent function. He had discovered this feature by accident not long ago. He only now realized the descent function could be upgraded. After upgrading, it could significantly reduce the consumption of prestige points. Combat system. Description: using this function, the host can descend into their avatar and operate it directly. Restrictions: requires prestige points and has a time limit. The longer the descent duration, the more prestige points consumed. Initial summon cost 800 prestige points. Subsequent reputation cost per minute 50. By the way, within the system, the descent function has always been referred to as the combat system. It's intended for the host to personally descend and engage in combat during emergencies. But Jiang Yi felt that, most of the time, his descent wasn't for combat. Therefore, he now refers to it as the descent function rather than the combat system. The current description of the descent function is as follows. Each descent requires 800 prestige points, with an additional 50 points consumed per minute thereafter. Calculating it this way, prolonged use remains unsustainable due to excessive consumption. However, upgrading the feature reduces the reputation cost. Upgrading the combat system to level 2 requires 50 prestige points. After upgrading, summoning now costs 750 prestige points, with subsequent costs dropping to 45 points per minute. Reaching level 3 requires 150 prestige points. Subsequent appearances cost 700 each, decreasing to 40 per minute. Level 4 requires 250 prestige points, with rewards of 680 per event, decreasing to 35 per minute. How does this work? Jiang Yi felt it was worth upgrading all at once. That way, using the descent feature later wouldn't hurt so much. Nor would he have to constantly worry about the time limit. Jiang Yi steeled his resolve. He spent nearly 3,000 prestige points to instantly upgrade the descent function to level 10. This reduced the reputation cost per use to 120, and subsequent uses would only consume 1 reputation point per minute. Calculating it this way, even if Jiang Yi used the descent function 24 hours a day, it would only consume around 1,500 prestige points daily. Completely acceptable. Recent exposés have steadily boosted Yamen Kingdom's visibility and reputation. As the momentum builds, daily prestige gains now consistently reach at least 3,000 to 4,000 points. Jiang Yi did the math. Even if he used the descent function non-stop, the daily prestige points he earned would not only be sufficient. There would still be surplus. Besides, Jiang Yi couldn't possibly use the descent function 24/7. He still needed to attend to matters on the other side. Otherwise, it would easily arouse suspicion. Jiang Yi walked to the window and glanced down at the bustling street below. Night was gradually descending. Warm lights glowing across the city gradually gave it a decadent, hedonistic feel. A knock sounded at the door. It was Henry. Your Majesty, would you like to take a stroll around the city? Get acquainted? after spending the entire afternoon in the hotel? Henry suggested. Sure. Zhang Yi put on sunglasses and a hat, making sure he wouldn't be recognized. They stepped out of the hotel. In the hallway, Henry recalled what had just happened and spoke up. Oh, right. I've already contacted the Lighthouse Nation to confirm our attendance at the joint conference. Good work. It's what I should do. They took the elevator to the hotel entrance. Zhang Yi and Henry stepped outside. Nearby shoppers in the mall or passers-by on the street, along with plainclothes officers who had been smoking outside the hotel entrance, immediately began moving purposefully toward Zhang Yi. Their eyes darted around constantly. While monitoring Zhang Yi's every move, they communicated in real time through semi-concealed earpieces. These individuals were not assassins. They were members of the Special Operations Squad, a reward from the system, who had come with Henry. On the surface, this visit to the Lighthouse Nation. Only Henry and Zhang Yi. But the actual number was far greater. After Zhang Yi checked into the hotel that afternoon, Henry instructed them to change into plainclothes. Then, without causing any commotion, to covertly safeguard Zhang Yi's security. In other words, at this moment, Zhang Yi and Henry appeared to be two ordinary people strolling down the street. But should any danger arise, over 30 elite special forces operatives, each possessing world-class combat skills, would mobilize simultaneously ensuring Zhang Yi remained unthreatened. Flags of various nations flew atop many iconic buildings lining the streets. As the political center of the Lighthouse Nation, the significance of Washington, D.C. cannot be described by prosperity alone. For the most influential institutions of the Lighthouse Nation, the Black House, Congress, the Supreme Court, and the vast majority of official agencies are all located here. It boasts numerous renowned historical sites, such as the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. Additionally, it houses numerous world-class museums under the Smithsonian Institution. Moreover, the city's cultural heritage is equally significant. Washington, D.C. is home to prestigious institutions of higher learning such as the University of Justice. In short, this is a city of significant global influence. A paradise in countless people's dreams. But, in Zhang Yi's view, it's actually just so not nearly as exaggerated as it seems in reality. Because all that prosperity is only for the wealthy. Wherever the wealthy go, it's paradise. As for the claims often seen online that the air abroad is sweeter and the moon rounder, Zhang Yi hadn't experienced that at all. On the contrary, Zhang Yi witnessed a peculiar scene. Having just crossed a street, the sounds of smashing and rioting echoed from nearby. Go check it out. Yes. Henry immediately went to investigate. Shortly after, he returned to Zhang Yi's side. It was a clash between the protest marchers and the Lighthouse Nation police. They were smashing police cars. Zhang Yi smiled. Interesting. It was obvious the protesters were mostly opposing the atrocities in Yisili. The Lighthouse Nation government not only condoned this but even enabled Yisili's genocide. This had sparked widespread discontent among Lighthouse Nation citizens. They didn't linger. Zhang Yi watched for a moment before leading Henry away from this trouble spot. They grabbed a quick Western-style meal outside. By the time they returned to the hotel, it was nearly 11 p.m. Just as they entered the hotel, a familiar figure appeared in Zhang Yi's line of sight. Chapter 148, The Humiliation of the World's Hegemon. This person was none other than the representative of Yisili at this United Nations General Assembly. Defense Minister McKinley. As for why Zhang Yi recognized him, knowing that Zhongdong's primary adversary was Yisili, Zhang Yi had instructed Charles to compile personal dossiers on all of Yisili's high-ranking officials. Given the importance of the defense minister position, Zhang Yi had specifically noted this at the time. Beside McKinley stood a middle-aged man with a mustache, carrying a suitcase. Upon spotting Zhang Yi, he nudged McKinley's arm. McKinley turned his head, and their eyes locked. It was him? McLean's expression flashed with surprise. He knew Zhang Yi was staying at this hotel. But the hotel was so large. Never expected they'd run into each other. What a small world. McKinley's eyes darkened, clearly filled with hostility. He was practically seething with hatred toward Zhang Yi. He wanted to rush over immediately and tear Zhang Yi to pieces. The two stared at each other like this. Neither made the first move to look away. For a moment, the hotel lobby was thick with tension. Minister McKinley. McKinley's assistant couldn't bear to watch any longer. Let's not stoop to their level. Oomph. McKinley finally snorted coldly before angrily shifting his gaze away. The Lighthouse Nation is investigating whether the Yemen Kingdom's nuclear weapons are genuine. The results are almost in. If any evidence emerges that the Kingdom of Yemen's nuclear weapons are merely a pretense, then Zhang Yi is as good as dead. McKinley believed. Moreover, McKinley himself believes the probability that the nuclear weapons are a decoy is extremely high. These are nuclear weapons, after all. Not some rotten cabbage. All these years, how many countries have tried and failed to develop them? The technological barriers are simply too high. From the very beginning, they've blocked the progress of too many nations. The predecessor of Yemen, the Houthi forces. Years of constant warfare. They were locked in fierce combat with the Yemen government forces. Under such circumstances, how could they possibly have the resources to develop nuclear weapons? Moreover, if they possess nuclear weapons, how could they have suffered defeat after defeat at the hands of the Yemen government forces, collapsing into disarray? Only one conclusion remains. The Kingdom of Yemen, desperate for its founding ceremony and international recognition, They went so far as to fabricate the lie of nuclear weapons. And through a series of deceptive tactics, deceived the entire world. Now all that remains is to wait for the moment when the truth is revealed. That will be the moment Jiang Yi steps through the gates of hell. Because this is the land of the free. Inside the elevator, Henry, known for his fiery temper, suggested, "Your Majesty, why not teach him a lesson?" "No need." Jiang Yi cut him off. "This is during the United Nations General Assembly session. I don't want any incidents. I have ways to make Yisili suffer far worse than just teaching him a lesson." Henry fell silent. Otherwise, Jiang Yi's single command. He immediately had men sneak into McKenlin's room and beat him senseless. Those bodyguards McKenlin kept by his side? Frankly, to super soldiers like Henry and his crew, rewards from the system, they were just a bunch of grunts. Killing them outright wouldn't even be a problem. But the chain of consequences that would trigger would be troublesome. For instance, the United Nations General Assembly would be forced to adjourn, halting the impeachment proceedings against Yisili. Jiang Yi still intends to expose Yisili's atrocities. Further exposed to the world. So that Yisili would truly become a rat everyone wants to beat. Delegates from various nations arrived in Washington, D.C., one after another. Not far from the Adams Hotel stood the Intercontinental, the Willard, Washington, D.C. This hotel is located at 1401 Pennsylvania Avenue, also near the White House. Located at 1401 Pennsylvania Avenue, it too is in close proximity to the White House. Like the H.J. Adams Hotel, it is one of Washington, D.C.'s premier super luxury hotels for hosting foreign prime ministers. President Yamamoto of Japan was currently in contact with President Obama. "Mr. President Obama, I have arrived at the hotel and will be punctually present for tomorrow's conference." His tone was filled with flattery, though separated by a phone screen. Yamamoto's expression within the hotel was one of fawning obsequiousness. Because South Korea has always been one of the loyal lackeys of the United States. To put it nicely, it's an ally. To put it bluntly, chicken-footed country is nothing but a dog kept by the lighthouse nation in the outer region. Got it. Remember what I told you before, when the time comes, you'll unconditionally side with the US. This is in your best interest too, understand? Obama. Of course, rest assured. By the way, I wonder about that matter we brought up last time. Half a year ago. As a defeated nation, the football chicken country cannot possess its own shipping lanes or maritime territories. To break this restriction, they have long fought for. They applied to the United Nations for ownership of a maritime route. This endeavor could only succeed with the lighthouse nation's approval. Other nations would simply refuse to recognize it otherwise. We're already considering it. We'll hold another meeting next week. If everything checks out, we can approve it for you. Obama pledged. Yamamoto immediately nodded in gratitude. Thank you, Mr. President. We humbly request your continued support in international affairs. As the most loyal ally of the Beacon Nation, we shall never betray your trust. Very well. The call with Yamamoto had just ended. Obama's personal secretary knocked and entered, carrying a thick stack of documents. He placed them on the desk and sorted through them. He brought Obama some good news. Mr. President, Lawrence is on his way. He has already verified the matter you asked him to confirm. Oh, excellent. Have him come see me immediately upon his arrival. Obama was visibly excited. His earlier drowsiness vanished completely. He asked his secretary to pour him a cup of coffee and settled in to wait for Lawrence. Over an hour later, Lawrence appeared at the door of Obama's office. So, have the results come in? Obama rose and walked toward Lawrence. Mr. President, we conducted a comprehensive review using satellite imagery and the historical development of the Hushai armed forces. We are certain the Hushai forces lack the capability to independently develop nuclear weapons. This is most likely just a lie fabricated by the Yaman king. They simply don't possess nuclear arms. Lawrence stated with conviction. He admitted there was an element of gamble involved. But at this moment, he had no choice. He had to give Obama a definitive answer. Otherwise, he'd be in deep trouble. Good. Obama's breath quickened as the pent-up emotions within him finally found release in that moment. Jiang Yi. The mere thought of Jiang Yi filled him with seething hatred, a desire to flay him alive. Now, that thought could finally become reality. To think a single lie could deceive him for so long. The world's supreme ruler. He'd been bottling up this frustration for so long. The land of the Beacon has been founded for over 230 years. This is the first time. Chapter 149, the United Nations General Assembly. United Nations General Assembly. The abbreviated name for the United Nations Security Council. One of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations. Each time it convenes, it inevitably becomes the focal point of global media coverage. Jiang Yi arrived at the building where the General Assembly was being held. As soon as he stepped out of the car, he saw countless journalists gathered at the entrance. Ordinary media outlets wouldn't have access to such a venue. Only major global media outlets like the Marian Press, the St. Anton Post, the Fashion News Agency, and the Zaori News were permitted to cover events here. Stepping out of the car ahead of Jiang Yi was Yamamoto, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Taiwan. Countless reporters snapped photos of him frantically. But that was all they could do, take pictures. For the sake of future reporting. They harbored no particular affection for the Prime Minister of Footbasket Country. He was merely a lackey of the Lighthouse Nation. Anyone with eyes could see it. Behind the scenes, the Footbasin Chicken Nation resents the Lighthouse Nation. But lacking the capability to stand on their own, they cling to the lighthouse nation for survival, tail between their legs. No one respects a country like that. Yamamoto understood this well as he strode briskly across the red carpet toward the main hall. At that moment, Henry opened the car door from outside. Zhang Yi gave his suit one final adjustment before stepping out of the car. This morning, in preparation for the United Nations General Assembly, Zhang Yi had risen early, finished his morning routine, and then activated the descent function. Such an important meeting. He had to attend in person. Standing over 6 feet tall, Zhang Yi possessed a face like a meticulously carved work of art. His sword-like eyebrows swept diagonally into his temples, as dark as ink yet radiating a commanding presence. The moment he appeared, he instantly drew the attention of countless people. The camera, which had been lingering on the Prime Minister of Footbase and Chicken just a moment ago, suddenly shifted to Zhang Yi. The King of Yamen? Yes, it was him. The King of Yamen had finally arrived. As someone shouted out, the crowd erupted. Reporters raised their cameras, snapping photos frantically, as if trying to break their shutters. The Yamen Kingdom was the hottest topic lately. Before arriving, the company had issued orders to focus on Yemen and monitor the King of Yemen's movements. Because Yemen was pure traffic. The only nation daring to confront Yisrael head-on, to stand firm against the lighthouse nation. How incredibly cool. Zhang Yi suddenly found himself bathed in the spotlight, getting a taste of what it's like to be a celebrity. Is he really that handsome? Wang Difu? The King of Yamen is this handsome? Could he be a model? His aura is absolutely unmatched. Unbelievable. I thought some model was walking the runway, but it's actually the King of Yamen? He's nothing like I imagined. Way too handsome. If it weren't for his royal status, he'd be a star overnight. Yeah, his features are flawless. Hollywood stars would have to step aside. Oh my god, how can there be such a perfect man in the world? Although the topic of the King of Yamen, though he's a huge international sensation, but Zhang Yi himself hasn't appeared on camera much. So many people haven't even seen Zhang Yi's photos. Seeing him in person this time, everyone was stunned. Handsome. So handsome. Westerners have always had an advantage in facial structure. Their facial features tend to be more sculpted. Yet Zhang Yi held his own completely, even surpassing them. Especially in terms of presence. His posture is impeccably upright, and every gesture radiates effortless elegance and composure. He looked like an aristocratic gentleman from the upper class who might raise a champagne glass to toast someone at any moment. It was utterly unimaginable that such a man could be the one leading the Hushi armed forces, carving out a niche in the chaotic wasteland of Zhangdong. He carved out a realm for himself. A man who made Shashi tremble in fear, who made the Italian-backed lighthouse nation cower. Yamamoto turned to look at Zhang Yi, the chicken pot nation. He'd always been curious about Zhang Yi, this figure capable of stirring up storms in Zhangdong. But since Footbase and Chicken Nation held little sway in Zhangdong, one could say it held none at all. Therefore, their opportunities to interact with the Yamen kingdom were few and far between. There was no animosity between the two sides. Yet Yamamoto knew that if the kingdom of Yamen was an enemy of the lighthouse nation, it must be his enemy too. Not a trace of goodwill flickered in his eyes. Yamamoto gave him a dismissive glance before turning his head away in disdain and striding straight inside. Zhang Yi naturally paid him no mind either. He believed that any normal Dragon Country citizen would harbor no affection for the Footbase and Chicken Nation. A bunch of scoundrels who prioritize petty courtesy over true loyalty. They put on one face in public and another behind closed doors. They refused to acknowledge the crimes they committed back then, trying to cover up the truth. Such a nation. Everyone should be free to punish them. Zhang Yi has arrived? Inside the building, Obama, who was conversing with leaders from various countries in the lobby, received the news. He hurriedly excused himself from the person in front of him. He headed straight for the exit. Encountering Yamamoto entering the building, Obama merely gave a perfunctory nod. This left Yamamoto looking extremely displeased. He had expected to be acknowledged, only to be ignored. But what could he do? This was Obama we're talking about. Yamamoto could only swallow his pride. Hello? It's a pleasure to see you here. Obama approached the entrance and headed straight for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi extended his hand, shook it briefly, and said, "It's an honor to meet you." Zhang Yi knew exactly what Obama was thinking. Still, appearances must be maintained. The other party greeted him warmly. Regardless of whether Obama was a wolf in sheep's clothing, Zhang Yi couldn't afford to refuse him face. After all these cameras were rolling. It's easy to give people ammunition. Don't end up with a reputation for acting like a diva. That would be quite something. Exchange pleasantries. Obama gestured behind him. Come on in. The conference is about to start. Sure. The two men smiled as they entered the building. Ironically, anyone unaware might think they were on excellent terms. They entered the building. They arrived at the main hall. This was the venue for the upcoming joint conference, featuring a distinctive circular design. This symbolized unity and cooperation. The dome-shaped ceiling of the assembly hall was adorned with exquisite murals depicting humanity's pursuit of peace, justice, and progress. Seats are arranged in a fan-shaped pattern, accommodating thousands of people. Hanging on the innermost backdrop wall was the United Nations emblem, underscoring the solemnity and authority of the meeting. Zhang Yi observed world leaders divided into different factions. Each group was engaged in their own discussions. This was normal. Only nations with good relations and shared interests could find common ground in their discussions. Regarding this United Nations General Assembly, each nation held its own stance and perspective. However, they broadly fall into two camps. One faction is led by the Lighthouse Nation and its Western allies. The Lighthouse Nation issued prior instructions. When the impeachment motion gained momentum, they would cast opposing votes. These nations adopted a tacitly supportive stance. There was no alternative. Their national strength simply couldn't support defying the Lighthouse Nation. The other faction, of course, is like the Dragon Nation. They do not fear the Lighthouse Nation's tyranny. They are nations prepared to stand on principle and champion justice. But few can actually pull this off. Besides the Dragon Nation, only the Big Goose has the capability. Chapter 150, already a dead man. At that moment, outside the building, a sudden, unannounced commotion erupted, the clatter of shattering glass and crashing objects. The leaders of various nations, engrossed in discussion, were drawn to the commotion. Jiang Yi motioned for Henry to accompany him outside, and the two headed toward the entrance. Upon stepping outside, they saw the Italian defense minister, Yisili, entering the building under the protection of a group of bodyguards. Outside, crowds of citizens from various nations were visibly agitated. Some people, upon seeing McKinley, raised Palestinian flags high. Others even hurled objects, rocks or other items at McKinley. This was their way of protesting against the atrocities committed by Yisili. If not for the bodyguards surrounding him, McKinley would have been beaten to a pulp in no time. Israel, get out of Zhongdong. Yisilians, get out of Balestan and return the land. Israel is committing inhumane massacres. You monsters will face retribution. The people of Balestan are innocent. We firmly oppose Israel's genocidal policies. You are committing crimes. Voices echoed through the streets. Countless people waved flags enchanted. The scene was truly spectacular. If you look closely, you can see that Yisili's defense minister, McKinley, heard these voices. His face turned green. In truth, the people's opinion was already quite clear, proving that the majority remained clear-headed. But there was nothing to be done. The United Nations General Assembly is a mandatory procedure. Damn them. McLean finally made it into the building, his face grim, unable to hold back a curse. At this point, all nations participating in the General Assembly were essentially present. The General Assembly was about to commence. However, before it started, there were still a few formalities to go through. Before Jiang Yi arrived, he had crammed in some last-minute knowledge about the General Assembly. The General Assembly consists of 15 member states, including 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. The permanent members are China, the United States, France, the United Kingdom, Japan, and the Republic of Ireland. These 5 nations hold veto power in the General Assembly. That is, for resolutions on non-procedural matters, if even one permanent member votes against it, the resolution cannot pass. This is precisely why Italy remains unconcerned. Even if the other 4 nations supported impeaching Israel, a single veto from the land of the free would suffice. The United Nations cannot take any action against Israel. Non-permanent members are elected by the UN General Assembly, serve 2-year terms, and see 5 members replaced annually. Non-permanent members possess limited authority. Specifically, they lack the veto power held by the 5 permanent members. However, non-permanent members also play a significant role in the decision-making process of the General Assembly. The United Nations General Assembly. It has consistently been the most crucial forum for maintaining global stability, without exception. Many international disputes are resolved through the General Assembly. Except for wars. In the realm of international cooperation, some initiatives are also advanced through the General Assembly. A few minutes before the session began, Jiang Yi was invited to take his seat. They say enemies always meet in unexpected places. The seat of McKinley, the representative of Yisili, was not far from Jiang Yi's. No sooner had he sat down, he noticed McKinley glaring at him with hatred. Jiang Yi certainly wasn't about to indulge him. He glared right back. In the end, McKinley backed down. Because Henry, sitting beside Jiang Yi, had a look in his eyes that sent a chill down his spine. That wasn't a normal gaze. It was like he was eyeing prey. This made McKinley realize that this was definitely a dangerous character. A man who hadn't claimed a few lives. No one would have that kind of look. Don't be fooled by these people's high positions and power. At the end of the day, they're still human. And humans fear death. McLean is no different. They don't have more lives than anyone else just because they're high up. What a coincidence. Just then, Jiang Yi felt someone tapping his shoulder. He turned around to find it was Lu Wen. Minister Lu, what a coincidence. Are you representing Longwei this time? Yes. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Longwa, he happened to be in the Lighthouse Nation for a few days on business recently. Naturally, the joint conference fell to him. Lu Wen leaned close and whispered into Jiang Yi's ear, don't get distracted later. Stay focused on your objective. Impeach Yisili directly and denounce their atrocities. You've prepared all the evidence, right? Jiang Yi nodded. Absolutely. All the video and photographic evidence came from Hamas. They clearly show how brutal Israel is in Gaza. Bombing civilians, bombing hospitals. Even refugee camps weren't spared. Were it not for Hamas's backing by the United States, any single piece of evidence would be grounds for capital punishment. This UN General Assembly session will be broadcast live. Alright, make a good impression. When you need us, you'll see I'll step forward to speak. Lu Wen finished speaking and returned to his seat. Across the room, McKinley was also using the final moments to whisper with the Lighthouse Nation officials beside him, exchanging words. He kept glancing over at Jiang Ye's direction, seemingly brewing a plan. Dawn. The gong signifying the official command